Some of you may not have been to this part of the property on the west campus, but this is a wash that we had to build to be able to be here. Now, I don't know a lot of people who love government guidelines, restrictions. They tend to be kind of overly restrictive, demanding, lots of times expensive. It's kind of interesting. We went to go ahead and put our site plan in for this location after we purchased the property, and they told us that to be able to build here, we got to put in this man-made wash. The idea behind it is, as you know, we have these monsoons that come through, and boy, they just throw down so much water. And so the problem was, once we looked into this, this was going to cost us, just to do this, an additional $100,000 to be able to do this project. As you can imagine, we didn't want to do that, and so we questioned their hydrology engineers, their topographical maps, and all kinds of stuff to do this, to go, oh, we don't have to do it. And they finally looked at us and said, look, either build the wash or close down the project. Okay, I guess we didn't have much choice. What's interesting is over the years now, we've had an opportunity to watch monsoon after monsoon come through here. And guys, I got to tell you, it's shocking how much water comes through here. I can tell you across the board that if we had not built this wash, our property would have basically been washed away. It's that big of a deal. And so while we didn't like it, we didn't want to do it, the end result is we admit it, they were right, and we were wrong. But it's fair to ask the question, why were we so upset? What was the big deal here? I mean, it wasn't like they had some kind of vendetta against the bridge. What was the whole idea? And the problem was, we didn't want to hear what they were telling us. Why? Because it was going to cost us too much. You have to understand that that's what happens when you don't like what you're hearing. Guys, you have to understand the same thing is going to be true when we start talking about God's truth. The reality is that we all need God's truth to keep us out of the guaranteed mess otherwise that would be our life. But that doesn't mean that we actually like hearing it. Lots of times we want to argue with God and say he's wrong and we're right. But if we've lived a little bit of life, we know that God's truth, acted on and actually applied to our life, is the very thing that truly sets us free. The problem is, we should never expect that we're going to be particularly happy about it, or even that the world will applaud us when we in fact do what God says. We've got to expect a certain amount of resistance from our own heart and also other people as well. Guys, what you have to understand is that if everybody is applauding everything that we do, we probably need to check. We're probably not following God's truth. By definition, God's truth is effectively cleaning up the mess that is sin, and our world and even our heart at times won't always applaud that. Here's what we've got to get a hold of, guys. You and I get a chance to hear God's truth. We get a chance to rail against it, to decide, wow, we really don't want to do that. And then you know what we need to do? Build the wash. You see, guys, God's right. We're wrong. And we have to understand that only His truth sets us free. So while we understand we won't always like it, the bottom line is we need to step up, apply God's truth, and watch that truth set us free. Let's do that this week.